Let me just go ahead and say the quiet thing out loud. Most of the church doesn't want to talk about what I'm about to say. But since I'm not most of the church, buckle up because it's about to get real. This morning I was reading First Thessalonians and it smacked me right between the eyes. I was on chapter 5 and it said, "But you aren't in the dark about these things. You're children of the light. So be on guard, not asleep like the others. Stay alert and be clear-headed." And that word clear-headed just hit different this morning. In this particular passage, Paul is talking about alcohol and also about the second coming of Christ, and that we are to be alert and clear headed so that when the Lord comes back, we're ready for him. And so that's kind of the background of what's going on in this passage. It was more of don't be drunk, but also don't lose control and don't dull your senses. And so I just want to be honest for a second and say, I understand that many of us have not touched alcohol, maybe ever, maybe it's been a long time, but we still feel foggy and not clear headed and maybe even spiritually sluggish. And it has nothing to do with wine. Do you know what's doing it? Food, sugar, the junk food, the ultra processed stuff that we keep putting in our bodies. The one more treat at night that turns into a whole sleeve of Oreos, or for me, it was a whole bag of peanut M&Ms or ice cream or whatever it was that I was craving that night. Sometimes it was all of it, if I'm being honest. And honestly, like I said, this is something that I have struggled with in the past. And so I'm not saying this to shame you because obviously I've been there. I've been there talking to friends and trying to explain that I was so frustrated that something as simple as food could make me feel so out of control. Like I would swear that I was going to break the pattern and then I would end up going right back to where I started. And I just couldn't understand why food had such a big hold on me. Um, as a health and wellness coach and certified in different nutrition coaching practices, like I know what foods do to my body. I know how they make me feel. I know how our body reacts to these different things. And yet I just kept going back and going back and starting the same cycle again, Monday after Monday. But the thing is, if we're going to fully step in to what God has called for, what God is calling us to do, we have to talk about this as a church. If the enemy can't trip you up with alcohol or lusting or something that's super obvious, he'll just hand you a cinnamon roll in Starbucks and then we call it self-care or treating ourselves, or there's no reason that we can't just enjoy life. These are all these little tiny lies that the enemy's putting in our head to keep us sluggish and tired and no energy and all these different things. So let's talk about some facts for a minute. Alcohol dulls your brain, it slows you down, and it makes you emotionally numb and tired and reactive. But guess what ultra processed, sugary, greasy, fried foods do? It does the exact same thing. It messes with your mood, it clouds your judgment, it spikes your blood sugar, and then crashes so hard that a lot of times you feel like you just got hit by a truck. It also affects your sleep and your anxiety and also your focus. And we just keep saying that we're tired, we're overwhelmed, we're anxious, or maybe that we're just not motivated, or we can't find motivation, or we're motivated and then we're not. Like it's some kind of mystery. But it's not a mystery, it's a pattern. Scripture says that we are children of the light and that we don't belong in the darkness. But a lot of times, darkness can look like zoning out in front of the pantry at 9 o'clock or feeling disconnected from God because your body is too tired from the food that you've been eating to focus when you're praying, or saying no to what God is asking you to do because you just don't have the energy. And the thing is, another thing that kind of stuck out to me was talking about being in the darkness because a lot of like in the darkness, that's when you're sleeping, or in the darkness, that's where people that drink get drunk is in the darkness. And a lot of times it's the same way for us. It's that late afternoon or put the kids to bed in the evening. Like it's still doing those things in the night, just like a drunkard would. Just like when people kind of, I guess, go hide to be able to drink to drunkenness. And we tend to do the same thing with food. Most people that are emotional eaters or people that struggle with eating or whatever, they can do good during the day, but then it's at night where they crash or they go hide. keeping these things all out of the light, basically. And so the thing is that it's not a coincidence and it's not laziness and it's not just getting older that we feel all these things, that we continue to go back to the pantry, that we don't have the energy to do whatever it is that we feel that God's calling us to do. It's not any of that. It's bondage. And the problem is it's so subtle and it's so accepted and it is so even encouraged in today's society or today's church. I mean, we bring in pizza to youth groups and we have potlucks that have tables as long as the gym that are full of baked goods and sugary treats and things like that. Um, and so unfortunately, even within the church, it's kind of encouraged. I mean, we would never invite an alcoholic in and have a table full of alcohol. Yet we have people that struggle with food addictions or sugar addictions or eating too much of the processed stuff. We have people like that in our churches all the time, and yet we throw out these um, buffets of junk food, and I don't see the difference. If somebody's struggling with alcohol, we're not going to give them alcohol. But yet, if somebody's struggling with food, we just laugh it off. Oh, we're going to have a treat. Oh, I shouldn't be eating this or whatever that is. And we encourage it like it's a joke. The thing is, it's not only physical, it's also spiritual. And like I said, for the most part, the church is silent about it. We talk about alcohol, we talk about porn, we talk about gossip, we talk about all of these things, but we never talk about gluttony. We never talk about overconsumption. We never talk about numbing out with food and numbing emotions or celebrating with food or just these different things that happen in our life. Like we never talk about how those emotions bring us back to food time after time after time and bring us back to that bondage. It's crickets. That's how it's been for so long. And the thing is, it's not about guilt. I'm not sharing this for it to be about guilt. Um, it's just about awareness. And the thing is, when I read this morning, I've had this like driving desire to come on here and share this with you today because it was just like it was highlighted and illuminated, and it was the message that the Lord had for me today. And obviously, if you're watching this on YouTube, obviously you can't see me on podcast, but if you're watching this on YouTube, clearly you can see that I'm not at the mountaintop. I'm walking this out, but I think this is such an important message. And the Lord has opened my eyes to so many things as to why I was turning to food and why I was doing the things I was doing and why I couldn't follow through, why I was self sabotaging. All of these different things He's opened my eyes to, and I can't unsee them. So while I'm still walking my journey of weight loss and um, the physical changes are not huge and visible to the public yet, they are coming because my insides are so different. My heart is so different. The way I think about things is different. The way I deal with emotions is different. And so yes, it's one thing to put myself out there like this, but at the same time, like I feel that this is the calling the Lord is putting on my life. And it's time for me to step up and speak about it because I see so many people suffering with it within the faith community. And so again, this is not about guilt. This is not about shame. This is just bringing awareness to a problem that is seeping into the church and essentially making the church less useful than it could be for the Lord because we're struggling with all of these issues that are brought on by food. And when you're not clear headed, like the Bible talks about that being clear headed, and that is the New Living Translation that I was using that uses the word clear headed, which is the word that really spoke to me today. When you're not clear headed, your body is constantly in a fog and you can't hear God clearly. And I walked through this as well. I walked through months and months of feeling like He was distant and I couldn't hear from Him. And no matter what I did, no matter how much I drew close to Him, it didn't feel like He was drawing close to me. And yet at the same time, I know the Bible says that that's how it works. So it was me that was putting myself in that position. It wasn't Him not coming to me, it was me putting myself in that position. And the thing is, like, you doubt yourself, You second guess what you should be doing. You lose motivation. And again, it's not because you're weak, it's because your body is all out of whack and your spirit is just exhausted from trying to press on and um, to deal with all of these things that are in your body that really shouldn't be there. And the thing is, we were never meant to live like this. We were never meant to be dragging through our day, praying for energy, wondering why life feels so just blah and just I guess muted for lack of a better word. Like just like there's more and you just can't figure out how to get there, or like you know that there's something you're supposed to be able to do and you just can't seem to break out of this funk. Like it's not even a matter of being content and being happy with where you're at and being joyful in like a slow life or anything like that. It's that you know that there's something for you to do in your life and you physically cannot do it. You've definitely got a calling on your life. We all do. And God has given you gifts that he wants you to use, but you cannot carry out your purpose in a body that is barely functioning. And this is where most people would just stop and say, we just got to eat better and we have to pray more. But you and I both know that it is not that simple. And I've given part of my story. This has been years in the making. Um, and there was some other stuff that needed to change before I could just change my body and the way I felt and all of that. Like there was a lot of heart work that needed to be done. There was a lot of hard things I needed to walk through and lies that I needed to call out. I needed to walk through all of that before I could get to the place that I could tackle the physical part of it. And that's where most people come in. That's where the fitness industry comes in. That's where Weight Watchers and Noom and all of this crap that you lose a ton of weight and then gain it back. You don't deal with the heart issues and the identity piece of it and the lies that you're believing and the people pleasing and all of these things. Like you can't just you can't just say eat better and pray more. There's so much more to it than that if you want to like truly take care of your body and truly get to a weight that's healthy for you. Um, and this is not saying that you can't ever eat a snack. Like that is, I'm not going to that extreme. I'm not saying that. Um, it's just the over consumption and the gluttony and things like that that has become so accepted and like I said before, even praised in the society that we're in. Um, if it were as easy as just eating better and praying more about it or buckling down and getting serious this time, if it were that easy, we wouldn't keep falling back into the same patterns. Like we don't need another diet, we don't need another devotional. We need guidance from somebody that's walked through it and support and a plan that's actually rooted in truth and not in shaming you or in perfection or having you do things that are not sustainable. And that's what I help women walk through. We don't just worry about the food. It's not about the food. It's not about um, what to eat or how to eat or all that, but how to get free from the cycle that is keeping you stuck in this bondage to food or this bondage to feeling lethargic or not having energy. It's not just because you have little kids. It's not because you're just getting older. We blame all these things on why you feel like crap, and that's not why you feel like crap. It doesn't have to be that way anymore. And so I just help women learn how to change your heart and your mind and get to a place where you're clear headed again, like that verse says, where you can be clear headed and show up for the life that God is calling you to live. So imagine waking up without constant brain fog, not starting your day in a mental tug of war with food. I've done that too. What am I eating now? And as I'm eating it now, I'm thinking about what I'm going to eat next. And after that, what am I going to eat next? And what are we going to eat tomorrow? And it was all about food. And I want to eat this, but I know I shouldn't. So maybe I should do this and maybe I should do that. All of that food noise is gone for me now. It's incredible because there is nobody that was more addicted to processed food, ultra processed food, sugar, all of that stuff. And I truly, truly don't feel that anymore. I truly don't. The Lord has done an amazing work in my life. And I'm not saying that I won't ever slip because this is the enemy's tactic. This is the enemy's tactic to keep me quiet. Because if I don't feel an integrity to be able to come on here and tell you these things, or to be able to come on here and speak about what the Lord is putting on my heart, then the devil's winning. And he knows that if I open my mouth and this starts to change in the church, like we're unstoppable for the Lord. And obviously the enemy doesn't want us doing that. So, um, imagine if you could wake up and like not obsess over food or not dread seeing your reflection in the mirror, but instead have mental clarity, have emotional peace, and different ways of coping with emotions that are not food, and also getting physical energy back so that you can do what God is calling you to do. That is what clear headed living looks like. And that's what walking in the light feels like. So we don't belong to the night. We don't belong to the numbing. We don't belong to the fog. We belong to freedom. Christ died to give us freedom, and that's what we belong to. So, if something in this hit home for you and you're still here watching this, I want to invite you to take a look at a deeper conversation that I put together. It's the next step if you're really ready to stop living in the fog and to actually start living. You think that you want weight loss, but really what you want is freedom. And you want energy and you want to be able to hear from the Lord. And you don't want to live where you're not clear headed. That's what you actually want. A lot of people can lose weight just by like pure willpower and pushing through and um, kind of like being the drill sergeant to themselves. They can lose weight, but without fail, it comes back on. Or their life is miserable because that's their whole life and they have to keep doing that. And they're not fixing the underlying problem. It's not losing weight that makes you happy. It's finding that freedom. And at that point, food just becomes something that we use to fuel our body or to nourish our body. And I know it sounds impossible and I know it sounds hard, but I can promise you it can change very, very quickly when you do it God's way. And so if you want to check out that conversation, see what I'm all about, see what my coaching is all about. It doesn't cost you anything. You'll find a link in the show notes where you can find um, that training that I put together to tell you a little bit more about what that looked like for me, how it's finally changed for me. Or you can also just go to NicoleYoungCoaching.com and you will find it there. So go take a listen. I promise you are not too far gone. You're just stuck in a cycle that you were never meant to be stuck in. And I just want to encourage you, don't let the devil get a hold of you in that area. That is an area that most people just don't recognize he's coming at them. They don't realize the bondage that they're in when it comes to that. And life can be so, so different if you break that bondage. So I will talk to you soon.